Active recall is one of the most powerful tools that we have as students to study. Today I'm going to talk about how we can convert our lecture notes into revision questions. Usually during lectures, we tend to write down every single detail that the professor says, and we end up with a long 10-page document full of notes. But this might not be our most effective strategy of studying. So the main idea is that during lectures, instead of writing down what the professor is saying, we're going to think about how the professor is going to quiz the material that he covers in a future midterm or exam. So let's try to put this into practice. Let's say you're learning about the routes of administration and pharmacology. So to create a question about the sublingual category, we can write what is sublingual and why is this route used. This also allows you to turn listening to a lecture into more of an active and engaging activity when you try to create questions out of what is already there. So depending on what subject you are learning and what concepts are covered, you're going to phrase your questions in slightly different ways. For definitions, for example, you'll have more like what is questions. For more processes and for bigger picture topics, you can use how does something work or why does something happen. Don't forget, you can also use many pointer words or action words such as differentiate between so and so, explain this mechanism, or to what extent does something happen in the real world. So those are all ways that you can phrase your question. So the phrase question strategy that we have is based on the Cornell note-taking strategy. It is where we have our questions and concepts on our left-hand side, and then we later put in our answers on the right-hand side. So during our revision, we try to cover the right-hand side so that we can just review through every single question and try to answer them out loud and see if we retain all of the information that we know. So now that we have all of our questions for our different units in a class, for example pharmacology, how do we know when to review each one? We're going to have a list of probably 200 to 400 questions, and we can't do it every day. So the first thing we're going to do is jot down our date of last revision. After we completed reviewing all of the topics, we're going to try to review them again, starting with the one that you reviewed the least recently. Then, depending on how well you remember the questions, you're going to color code them. For example, green might be, I completed all of the questions fine and I remembered how to explain all the concepts. Red could be, I'm struggling very hard, and if I had the exam tomorrow, I would definitely not do as well as I would like to. So, you would want to prioritize those topics that you have in red. And because you prioritize revision on the concepts that you are not as sturdy with, you'll see that your understanding of that particular concept will get better and better. Sometimes if you haven't reviewed other topics, however, they might get a little bit worse. You might not be able to answer all of the questions. And this is why you have to prioritize different topics depending on how well you know them. Another great resource at your disposition is called Remnote. It is a free website that allows you to turn your notes into questions. So all you need to do is write a question or a term and then put 2 colons in between the term and the definition, or your question and your answer. Then you just need to click on the top right corner to practice your cards. Depending on how familiar you are with the answer, you can ask Remnote to quiz you later in a short period of time or a long period of time. So this helps with spaced repetition of important concepts. So thanks for listening, guys. That'll be it for today's Active Recall question video. If you want to read more, feel free to check out our description box down below for more reading resources. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.